So Ola, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Also to my home. And you've been kind enough to actually accept my request to you to sort of give me some background information about what's going on in the Nordic region. And I look back, as we have just conversed about it, there are a number of very interesting projects that have come out of the Nordics. What's the magic behind it? But why is the Nordics such a rich environment for especially technology? That's what I would like to really hear from you.
Well, first of all, ever since the Vikings, Swedes have had a tradition of going international and raping and pillaging, and maybe it's because it's cold in Sweden. We think a lot about what we can bring to other countries also. So there's an international DNA that is missing in many other countries. A Swedish entrepreneur writes a business plan including going to other markets from day one. That is not the case in Germany or in Turkey or in many other countries.
Could it be because the Swedish market in itself is probably not big enough?
Absolutely. So that's one aspect. But then during the .com boom, Sweden was very, very early. So back in 97, 98, there were 6 companies with more than 2,000 web developers in Stockholm. The largest one in Germany was 80 people. So we moved full speed ahead, straight into the .com crash. And there were tens of people, hundreds of people that ran companies at 25.
Can you give me one of the examples from the first .com crash that were successful Swedish ventures or Nordic ventures?
You had companies like Icon Media Lab or Spray that merged with Razorfish, Spray Media that merged with Lycos. These companies were very big for their time. You also had the whole online gambling sector. Many companies grew out of Sweden, yes, or with sort of Nordic descent. So the starting point was you have a lot of people that early on in their lives tried to run and build .com businesses, made mistakes, learned a hell of a lot. So that's one thing. So now when the business models are more mature, and when it's for real and not just hot air, when e-commerce has proven to be more efficient than traditional retail, when communities actually can make money, when online marketing is much more efficient than many traditional medias, the same entrepreneurs are there but much more battle seasoned. So the mistakes we made in the late 90s gave us a very good breeding ground for entrepreneurship of today. And many of the people that were part of the first boom, like the Spotify founders, they were part of building Trade Doubler in the first .com.
Were they?
Yeah. The guys behind Angry Birds, they built a number of companies back in those days, and a lot of failed games. So that's one component. Another thing which is quite interesting, so you have one component being there was a lot of people that learned from the .com crash.
Yes.
We got ambitious, kind of like when Björn Borg was the best tennis player in the world, that gave us Edberg and Wilander and a lot of other tennis players. Take away that role model, somebody that enables you to think and dream big, and there are no followers. But we had those role models. Secondly, it is a small market. We speak very good English, all of us. So it's easy for us to start thinking about other markets. And that attracts international capital, international management teams.
What about the production side? I thought also physically, since you are so close to Lithuania and Latvia, these are high education, also very Nordic people, but coming from a Soviet background, and at the moment still a lot cheaper to undertake production jobs than many other regions.
The typical Swede has never been to Latvia,
but
doesn't know anybody there, and it's as alien for us to do business there as it is for you.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, so it is not that link over there that you have access to actually cheap labor.
No.
No, okay.
So that is not a component. One thing that is a component, and I think that's maybe the most important component. Swedes are honest. You can trust people. Nobody wants to take your deal. So we can share ideas with each other. And if somebody says, I'll put the money in, they will put the money in. And if somebody says they will buy your product, they will, or they will tell you why
What
it's
about
not good
stealing
enough.
your idea?
We don't really do that.
That's fantastic. That's something that's really fascinating.
So if you look upon that, if everybody in the world would be a family member of you, wouldn't it be easy to do business?
Yes.
And if you have it like that, so we're not very warm, we're not very friendly, and many Turks moving to Sweden would say, oh, aren't they really cold? And probably we are, but we are honest. And in business where there's so much uncertainty, when you need to gamble and gamble again, or try and fail, if you don't waste time or trying to protect your back, it makes you able to run faster.
It certainly does.
And then you have some guys like Niklas Sandström. He starts Kazaa, gets a following of millions and millions.
We had Kazaa. What was it?
Yeah.
Music sharing,
File
right?
sharing, yeah.
Exactly.
And then after that he goes into creating Skype, or Skyper as it was called back then. And some friends were joining him and they said, we're going to move to Estonia and start giving away telecom and telephony to everyone. Isn't that a great idea? And I said, are you smoking dope? Keep your day job. This is terrible. Who knows anybody in Estonia? One. Who has ever heard of a successful company being built in Estonia? No one. And who has made money by giving away free telecom? No one.
And they
But
built
still,
Skype.
they built Skype. So entrepreneurship prevails against logic and against all other things. But there was a breeding ground where they did Kazaa before, and then they created Skype.
What about Pirate Bay's role in all this? Because actually, to me, the most famous thing out of Sweden is Pirate Bay.
Yeah.
Extremely controversial. I actually watched recently 2 different documentaries about it. The one that they published, but there was also another one published on BBC. And it's amazing, actually, what they have done. And the way they have tackled the law over there.
Yeah.
And when I was watching it, I actually thought that's probably the reason why Spotify came out of Sweden in the first place, because they have been pushing that store to the very end. And at some point, the music companies had to actually give up. Say,
My friend is the managing director of Universal in Sweden.
yeah,
And he used to hate teenagers passionately because they were the ones that stole music on
Yeah.
Pirate Bay. They were firing people left and right. They were fighting for their survival. If they wouldn't have had ABBA as a cash cow, they would probably been out of business. So when Spotify came around and said, we have a solution for this and you can be shareholders, they managed to do what nobody's done before, gathered the major record companies around a new platform. And it took off like wildfire because it was a better experience. It was in sync with the music
absolutely,
industry.
yes. It's something
and it
I'm
took
very
off.
jealous about, because I had that
Yeah.
idea in 2005 and someone else did it.
Yes, but having that idea,
It's
And
completely different than
executing
doing it, yes.
it's like knowing how to sing like Mick Jagger or become like Mick Jagger.
Yes, yes.
And I think it is. It's like in the music industry. Now I'm going to be a little bit provocative here.
Go ahead.
If you're playing drums in the basement somewhere in Istanbul, thinking that you'll be a global rock and roll star, chances are very slim that you'll become that, because it's never happened before.
Well, it's one actually, but it doesn't matter. It was in the 70s.
World famous Turkish drummers.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'll remember the name someday, but there is one.
Exactly. He's so famous that you can't remember the name, but there was one.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, got
Right?
me there.
If I say ABBA, you remember them,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Phil Collins, I remember.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in Sweden, you have the ABBA and you have the Roxette and you
Okay,
have the
Timmins,
Ace of
that's
Base,
the guy.
and you have so many artists coming from Sweden. It's the 4th largest music export country in the world. How can that be? So if you want to be a star in music, you got to live in LA, in London, in New York, in Stockholm as a matter of fact, or in a couple of other cities around the world. Otherwise you don't become a global star, unless there's some freak fluke. Okay? I think it's the same thing with internet companies that go global. There are very few companies that are global that comes from Cape Town, or that comes from
Well, there's a big investment out of Johannesburg.
Sydney, or that comes from it's very, very scarce.
Why is it so? What's missing?
Because I think
What's the
there-
missing component in those regions?
So just like in music or like in movies, if you're making movies sitting in Batman in Turkey, you think you're going to make a Hollywood movie, chances are you won't make it. I'm not saying it's not possible.
Yeah, but
I'm
it's
just
very
saying it's
slim.
not likely.
Yeah.
Because the ecosystem that creates success is much more important than anybody has understood. We believe an idea is an idea is an idea. A song is a song regardless where it's played, but that's not true. If you cannot have the ecosystem, the soil that you have in Hollywood, you can't make Hollywood movies. Unless you recreate it in Bollywood, because there you can make Bollywood movies.
But they did create Bollywood after Hollywood.
Absolutely.
What was the soil over there?
Okay, so in tech, I think you need to have venture capital, you need to have ambition, and if I'm in South America, for instance, looking at companies, I'm always missing 1-0 on the business plan.
It's just
I'm going to work hard for 5 years and I'm going to make $650,000. It's like, okay, I want to see $65 million. I want to see what's the ambition, because if you have an ambitious plan, you can attract an ambitious team and then ambitious capital, and it becomes self-fulfilling. Another thing that is very important is that you need to have other companies that raise the level of engineers, of investors, of others. And I think that the Swedish...
Can you be more specific on that? Because that's very important. You're talking about the whole, well, again, ecosystem, or maybe set of different services that you can acquire locally that will contribute to your success. What would that be? What would be missing part of it? Or what can be filled there?
You gotta have good engineers, so you gotta have good tech. That comes partly from school and partly from the kind of sort of hacker community and vibe you have in a city. It comes back to the city. Is the city fun to live in? Stockholm has a lot of good-looking girls, and honestly, I think that's an important factor. People think it's fun to come to Stockholm. Yeah, but it's also, I think that success spawns success. A large share, unproportionately large share, of all the exit values of IT and internet company in Europe has been paid out in Sweden.
Yes.
If you look at Skype being sold multiple times for billions of dollars, you look at ClickTech that nobody has heard of, $4 billion.
Really?
Sold, Swedish guy, Måns Hultman, good friend of mine, sold ClickTech. And there's a number of other companies like that have been sold out of Sweden. So in Sweden, time and time again, companies have been created that have given shareholders lots of value, that have given private investors the guts to go in and invest and co-invest. And also a lot of the entrepreneurs selling their companies going back as business angels. This creates a community.
Yes.
And it's also interesting because in a small part, SIME, the event that we run, has been a magnet for bringing this community together in a meaningful way, where we learn from each other, we party together. There's been a central meeting point so that these people that read about each other in the business papers actually know each other, help each other, co-invest with each other, and so forth.
That's also very important, of course,
Yeah.
to have that. What about the Stanford model? Do you have something like that?
Not everybody tried. It's called the triple helix model, where you want to have the sort of the city, the university,
Yes.
and the business community.
Yes.
And every university has initiatives like that, and we try to support them. We're part of them, and so forth. But it's nothing like the Stanford model. I would like to say that a lot of the entrepreneurship is done in spite of government efforts and in spite of academic efforts. They come from this soil that has been created through success. So you could say that the tennis schools created Björn Borg, but it's probably something else. It's probably like
Because of Björn Borg, there was a lot more tennis schools actually over time. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. The Stockholm city is doing a good job, I think. The universities, they're playing their part, but they're not really inside the entrepreneurial community. And also one thing that's important, every city wants to become the IT city of Europe, and
Yeah.
everybody wants to help entrepreneurs. Well, An entrepreneur is a baker that bakes bread, proven business model, to feed his family, something he needs to do, right? That's like playing football because you like playing football. What we're talking about here is how do you create the best football team in the world? Then you have to take a completely new business model. And you're not doing it to feed your family. You're doing it to see if you can do the impossible. And that's a completely different set of traits than the baker. So many cities are speaking about entrepreneurship as if it is one thing and as if it's the same. If you start an app because you want to see if you can sell some homework apps, or if you create Skype, they're completely different things. They should have different names.
So you want to tell me, since the owners of, or the previous owners of Skype are good friends of you, they actually had Skype at today's scale in their visor when they started it?
In their
visor, in their vision?
Yeah,
that
I would
they
say
wanted to
so.
do, really?
I would say so. Because they had 230 million people or whatever on Kazaa before. They knew it could be done. Angry Birds, they had 26 games that didn't become so successful.
I know, I met them when I was with you.
Now they have 1 billion users in their business plan. So what I'm saying is that they should have different names. One should be called Hobby Entrepreneur, and one should be called Megalomaniac, Globe Conquer Entrepreneur. But now we call them all entrepreneurs, and then we have an event for entrepreneurs, and you try to do initiatives for entrepreneurs, and you go to venture capital. If you're an entrepreneur,
call themselves serial entrepreneurs because they have a number of investment in a number of small companies.
yes, the venture capitalists, they want to meet a very little part of the entrepreneurs. The other ones just take their time. If this would be clearer, we could have initiatives towards people that just want to make a living creating something, and help them with certain types of capital, and others that want to take on the world, swing for the fences and maybe fail. That's a completely other type of entrepreneur. And I think in Sweden there's become a fairly good balance for digital entrepreneurs, both the ones that wants to go for gold and the ones that sort of are happy to be playing the game.
Fantastic. Ola, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Ola Ahlvarsson for Webrazzi. Say a few words to the camera this time.
So, no, but now...
These are people in Istanbul or in Turkey watching you through Webrazzi.
First of all, thanks for having me here on Webrazzi. And something that I think is really cool, and that's why I like hanging out with Bülent and going to Istanbul, is that now everybody's talking about Turkey. And especially in Sweden, where we only have 9 million people. So we really want to take all of these good ideas and see if we can do more with them somewhere else. So if you have good ideas for Turkey, or good ideas how to launch other things in Turkey, let Bülent know and let's do something together.
Thank you.